immediately when everything kind of bubbled up with respect to racial injustice, my first thought was to 4 years ago. I was not at TPG, I was at Goldman Sachs. And however proud I was of the work that we did there, I had one immediate concern, which was we can't let this go away in 3 months. I remember the energy that people had back then and the concern. And yet, little by little, everyone went back to what their quote unquote job was, a job. And I think what I'm most encouraged is that there's a change in what people are defining as their day job now. And more leaders are really seeing this as part not only of what they need to do for a particular purpose and whether, recruiting, which is very important, or a particular promotion, but actually on how they present themselves as individuals, and also how we, for example, as TPG, present ourselves, not only in the private equity industry, but what obligation do we have with respect to our portfolio company? So all of us here have different spheres of influence. And what I love the most is that when you put it all together, it really works. So for me, I'm focused on, making sure that, it's not a 3 months, 6 months. It's I want to hear about what people want to do a year from now. Do you have that on the calendar? And if you don't do it, go and put it on the calendar. Because all of us will find another thing that will be crucial. But I think consistency is the name of the game here. And Ellen, the other thing that I have thought a lot about is that I'm getting better questions. And I think that that's very important. The other main difference, again, a number of us, we're not going to add the years that we've been at this, but it's a lot among all of us. And I think that we did not hold people accountable for getting incrementally better. And that is a very non-judgmental statement. So if this is your first foray, that's great. For some of us, this is more of a renewing of the vows to inclusion and equity. But wherever you are, you cannot be in the same place 3 months from now. So, I'm a swimmer. I grew up as a swimmer, and the coach always told you it actually doesn't matter whether you get first or third place. It really matters, are you increasing? Are you doing better in terms of your own time? And I think that's very important for people in the audience to remember, because otherwise you're going to get frustrated, but also you might go too easy on yourself. And I think that those of us that are more advanced in this journey have an obligation to put forward more and keep pushing our leaders. And those of us that need to do some of the groundwork, that's fine, but don't stay in the groundwork forever. Make sure that, now that you have the tools, you have this great panel, and other people that have spoken on this topic, there's really no excuse for any of us to not move forward.
Even in the most enlightened company, there are people who are just not fluent in this new language and feel resistant to it, or very nervous about it, or even worried about using a term incorrectly. What have you learned, and specifically has worked, or maybe what have you learned has not worked, about helping people who are particularly people of influence within an organization get fluent more quickly?
Don't assume that diverse people are good or exempt of what has been said here. And I think that's something that sometimes we forget about. We think it's just a majority of people, but within our own diverse groups, there's a lot of education that needs to happen. And we should not forget about that in this moment, because it's a great opportunity on that front as well.
What are some of the things that might be surprising, or at least specific, that you have learned to listen for and measure to know that your work is on the right track?
Something that I have found really effective is not only looking at the data and reporting, and I agree on being detailed. By the way, another level of detail is by level. So you would never take any business and just look at the top line and say, I'm good. You would want to understand which store is driving that, what region, who's dragging you down. So yeah. I think that understanding the details, but also not getting just focused on the overall, but at the senior level, are you making progress there? And do you have a pipeline that is going to sustain? And really assessing, we all know what the promotion cycles are at our respective firms. So you can model out if you do things right, like this is what should this cohort look like in 3-4 years. But for us is actually having very detailed conversations both with the firm. So we have disclosed our data in a town hall to the whole firm, completely open, to every aspect of it. And for us, that was very important, partly because we were asking also our portfolio companies to do the same. So again, you can't ask people to do things that you're not willing to do because your employees are going to smell you in 2 seconds. So being authentic.
Right.
The other thing is, for us, again, being very tailored to your business and your superpowers. We're an investment company. That's what we do. We have investors. As a part of that, we, like Lyndon said, we can influence who is on the boards of our companies as well. And so it's not just looking at what you can do for your internal part, but we have made that a part of people's year-end reviews. So when our deal teams sit to get their reviews on how they've done, is not just, how many investments, but it's what have you done to diversify the boards of the companies that you're in charge of. And sometimes even if they don't have a seat, is have you done anything to help them, the deal team next to you, because you may have a referral for them. And so that's very detailed. They know it's coming. And guess what, Alex? No one wants to sit with the CEOs and have a bad answer to that question. So the fact that they're asking and that everyone has to go through this, no matter how senior you are, sends a message, but it's actually very efficient. It's a market in and of itself. So I would say action is very important, but then the quality of the data that you are asking people about, which should be also about experience, as it's been mentioned here. It's not just how many more people, but it's like, are your diverse people about to quit every month, And for that, you have to do skip level. You can't rely on the manager telling you, everyone's doing great, they love me, thank you. You have to have ways in the organization to, have like your pulse on all parts of the organization, because people will tell different stories depending on the level of comfort that they have. So you have to open the floodgate for the truth to come out.